May 2026. The high desert of Nevada is silent, but the air is screaming with data. If you were standing at the edge of the Tonopah test range right now, looking up at the midday sun, you'd see nothing but a deep, empty blue. But somewhere in that blue, two of the most expensive secrets in human history are currently locked in the forensic struggle. One is a machine built to be a zero, a ghost that officially doesn't exist in the electromagnetic spectrum. The other is a $20 billion eraser, a predator designed specifically to solve the riddle of invisibility. For decades, the goal of stealth was simple: don't reflect. If the radar waves don't come back to the dish, you don't exist. But in 2026, the game has changed. We've moved past low observability into the era of the void. On one side of this clinical collision, we have the Northrop Grumman B-21 Raider. It is the most perfect flying wing silhouette ever carved from carbon and titanium, a bomber designed to be a Zero-RCS ghost. On the other, we have the Boeing F-47 Phoenix. It isn't just a fighter, it's a $20 billion sensing node. It was built because the Pentagon realized that if you can't see a ghost, you have to find the hole where the ghost is hiding. This is the forensic autopsy of the ultimate paradox. Can a 6th-gen sensor suite find a machine that has effectively erased itself from reality? Or has the bomber finally outpaced the hunter? I'm James. This is the Hidden Muster. Today, we put the two most invisible machines on Earth on the slab to see which one blinks first. Let's start with the Raider. Put it on the slab. When you look at the Raider, you aren't looking at a plane, you're looking at a mathematical solution to the problem of physics. Every curve, every intake, every serrated edge of the landing gear doors is designed to ensure that radar waves don't just not reflect, they get eaten. In the 20th century, we talked about the F-117 having the radar cross-section of a marble. By 2026, the B-21 has moved the needle to a zero. Now, technically, zero is impossible in physics. There is always a return. But for the purposes of a 2026 integrated air defense system, the B-21's return is so small it falls below the noise floor of every radar on the planet. It looks like a mosquito or a bit of atmospheric clutter, or nothing at all. The biggest forensic advantage of the B-21 is the lack of vertical surfaces. No tails, no rudders. Vertical tails are the specularity trap for stealth. They act like mirrors for radar beams coming from the side. By deleting the tails, Northrop Grumman ensured that from 360 degrees, the B-21 has no spikes. It is a smooth, continuous curve that allows radar energy to simply slide over it and continue into space. But it's not just about the shape, it's about the skin. The B-21 uses a next-generation radar-absorbent material. It is integrated directly into the composite structure. It doesn't peel, it doesn't crack, and it doesn't just absorb energy. It converts it into heat and then sinks that heat into the massive fuel tanks. This is the B-21's silent mode. It doesn't radiate, it doesn't reflect. It sits in the sky like a hole in reality. In the 2026 muster files, we call this the void. If the Raider is flying at 60,000 feet, you could have a billion-dollar radar pointed right at it, and the screen would stay as clean as a fresh sheet of paper. So here is the $20 billion question. If the B-21 is so perfect, why did the Air Force spend the GDP of a small nation on the F-47 Phoenix? Why build a fighter jet designed specifically to hunt a bomber that belongs to your own side? The forensic answer is brutal. Because in 2026, the U.S. knows that if they can build a B-21, someone else can eventually build a B-21. And if you can't find it, you can't stop it. The F-47 Phoenix is the insurance policy for the era of invisibility. The Phoenix was built around a singular philosophy. If the ghost doesn't reflect, you look for what it's blocking. Think of it like this. If you're in a dark room and an invisible man walks in front of a candle, you don't see the man. You see the candle flicker. You see the shadow. The F-47 is designed to find the flicker in the sky. It doesn't rely on traditional radar reflection. It relies on passive volumetric analysis. The price tag of the F-47 isn't in the airframe or the engine. It's in the brain. The The Phoenix carries a multispectral sensor suite that pools data from every corner of the electromagnetic spectrum. It looks for the thermal wake left in the air by the B-21's exhaust. It looks for the electrostatic discharge created by a 55-ton wing moving through the atmosphere. It looks for the acoustic shadow, the way the B-21 blocks out the background noise of the universe. The Phoenix's purpose in our 2026 reconstruction isn't to dogfight the Raider. It's to perform a digital deletion of the Raider's stealth. The pilot doesn't want to see a blip on a screen. He wants his AI to organize the chaos of the atmosphere until the only thing left is the silhouette of the bomber. The Raider thinks it's alone in the dark. In Part 2, we're going to show you why the Phoenix is already standing right behind it.
Let's cut deeper into the F-47 Phoenix. We've established that the B-21 Raider is a void, a hole in the sky that traditional radar just slides right over. So how does a $20 billion fighter actually see a hole? The forensic answer starts with the very surface of the Phoenix. It's called metamaterial smart skin, and it's the most expensive wrap ever put on a machine. In the old days, stealth was passive. You put some special paint on the jet, shaped it like a diamond, and hoped for the best. But the F-47 doesn't just sit there. Its entire outer layer is alive. Think of it like the whiskers on a cat or the skin of a shark. It doesn't just be stealthy, it feels the environment. When a 55-ton B-21 Raider moves through the air at 50,000 feet, it does something that no amount of stealth paint can hide. It moves air. It creates a wake. It leaves a thermal trail. It even creates a tiny microscopic change in the local air pressure. The F-47's smart skin is embedded with millions of tiny sensors that aren't looking for radar reflections. They're looking for anomalies. If the F-47 is flying through a patch of sky, its AI knows exactly what the clean air should feel like. If a B-21 passes nearby, even miles away, it leaves a pressure shadow. The F-47's skin feels that shadow. It picks up the minute vibrations and the slight temperature shift where the Raider's engines have tried to hide their heat. In the 2026 forensics, we don't call this seeing. We call it tactile hunting. The Phoenix is literally feeling its way through the dark to find the shape of the ghost. But even with skin that can feel the air, the Phoenix is still just one jet, and the Pacific is a big place. To find a B-21 Raider, you have to be everywhere at once. This is where the mothership logic comes in, and this is where the $20 billion starts to make sense. The Phoenix never hunts alone. If you see one Phoenix on your hypothetical radar, you're already surrounded by 6 other things you can't see. The Phoenix is the brain for a swarm of collaborative combat aircraft, or CCA. We're talking about the YFQ-42A Vanguard and the YFQ-44A Scythe. In our 2026 reconstruction, the Phoenix pilot doesn't spend his time looking out the window or chasing blips. He sits back, 80 miles away from the hot zone, and manages his hive. He spreads his drones out in a massive 100-mile-wide detection web. Here's how the forensic trap is set. The drones aren't just flying, they're talking to each other using LPI, low probability of intercept data links. They're constantly measuring the distance between them with laser precision. If a B-21 flies into that web, it doesn't have to reflect a radar beam for the hive to find it. The B-21 is a big physical object. When it passes between 2 drones, it interrupts the chatter. One drone says to the other, "I can't see your laser," for a split second. The other drone says, "Me neither." The Phoenix brain takes that tiny interruption, that flicker in the web, and calculates exactly where the B-21 must be. It's like a spider sitting at the edge of a web. The spider is blind, But the moment a fly touches a single thread, the spider knows the exact coordinates for the kill. The B-21 Raider is the most invisible fly ever built, but in 2026, the Phoenix has built a web that doesn't need to see the fly, it just needs to feel the threads move. Now let's talk about the information war happening inside the Phoenix's cockpit. The F-47's computer is performing what we call volumetric analysis. It's taking the feel from its smart skin, the interruptions from its drone hive, and the thermal ghosts from its infrared sensors, and it's mashing them all together. In the old days, a pilot had to look at a screen and try to figure out if a dot was a cloud or a plane. In 2026, the F-47's AI does the forensic work for him. It deletes the clouds, it deletes the atmospheric noise, it deletes the bird flocks. It keeps subtracting everything that is normal until only the abnormal remains. And in a clean sky at 60,000 feet, the only thing abnormal is a 55-ton flying wing trying its best to be invisible. This is why Zero-RCS is a dangerous myth in 2026. You can hide your reflection, but you can't hide your displacement. You are a mass, you have volume, you take up space. The Phoenix is the first machine designed to find you simply because you are there. It's a cold, clinical way to fight. There's no dogfighting here. There are no G-turns or cinematic maneuvers. It's just a $20 billion computer system slowly, methodically erasing the B-21's invisibility until the bomber is standing naked in the middle of a digital spotlight. We've seen the skin that feels. We've seen the hive that boxes the ghost in. We've seen the brain that subtracts reality until only the target remains. The F-47 Phoenix has done the impossible. It has found the unfindable. But finding the B-21 is half the problem. Now it has to delete it. And the B-21 Raider isn't just a sitting duck. It's a sensing node in its own right. It has its own tricks. It has its own deep, cold thermal sinks and its own ways to jam the very web that's trying to catch it. The B-21 knows it's being watched. The void is starting to fight back. In Part 3, we're going to smash these two ideologies together in the final collision. We're going to see what happens when the B-21 tries to break the web, and whether the F-47 can actually land a killing blow on a ghost that's already moving to delete the hunter. This is the end of the hide-and-seek game. This is where the forensics get bloody.
The standoff is over. The hide-and-seek part of the afternoon has just turned into a forensic collision. In our 2026 reconstruction, the B-21 Raider is deep in enemy territory. It's sitting in its deep cold mode, moving like a shadow across the Philippine Sea. It hasn't turned on a single radio. It hasn't sent a single ping. For all intents and purposes, it doesn't exist. But 80 miles away, the F-47 Phoenix has already done the math. Thanks to its drone hive, it has felt the flicker in the web. It has felt the air displacement through its smart skin. The hunter has found the ghost. The silent strike. Now, here's the $20 billion problem. How do you kill a ghost without becoming one yourself? If the F-47 pilot turns on his radar to get a lock on the B-21, he lights himself up like a flare in a dark room. The B-21's own sensors would see that radar beam instantly, and the ghost would turn into a slayer, using its own electronic warfare suite to fry the Phoenix's brains. So the Phoenix doesn't use radar, it uses passive kinetic logic. Handoff. The Phoenix brain sends a silent laser-coded signal to a YFQ-44A scythe drone. The sacrifice. The drone, which only cost a fraction of the fighter, is the one that takes the risk. It moves closer to where the B-21 should be. The calculation. The drone uses its own infrared cameras to look for the thermal wake of the B-21. Even with the massive heat sinks, moving a 55-ton wing through the air at Mach 0.8 creates friction. It creates a warm spot in the freezing air at 60,000 feet. In the 2026 forensics, we see the Scythe drone launch a JATM missile. The missile isn't looking for a radar reflection, it's looking for that warm spot. It's hunting a shadow. But don't count the B-21 out yet. This is a machine that Northrop Grumman built to survive the end of the world. When the B-21 computers detect the incoming missile, it doesn't just pull a high G turn. A bomber that size can't outturn a missile. Instead, it fights back with digital deletion. The B-21 activates its directed energy suite. It shoots a high-powered beam of microwave energy at the incoming missile's seeger head. It tries to blind the missile before it can get close. At the same time, it uses its thermal decoys, tiny specialized flares that burn at exactly the same temperature as the B-21's exhaust wake. This is where the $20 billion price tag of the F-47 Phoenix finally pays for itself. The Phoenix isn't just watching the missile. Its AI is performing real-time forensic filtering. It sees the jammer, it sees the flares, and it says, "That's not a bomber, that's a distraction." The Phoenix pilot retasks the missile in mid-flight using a laser link. He tells the missile to ignore the bright flares and focus on the void behind them. In the 2026 muster simulation, the B-21 Raider, the most invisible machine ever built, is finally caught. Not because it wasn't stealthy enough, but because the F-47's hive was smarter. The missile doesn't even have to hit the B-21, it just has to get close enough for its fragmentation ring to shred the Raider's smooth, perfect skin. Once that skin is torn, the stealth is gone, the void is broken. The B-21 becomes a 55-ton piece of metal standing naked in the middle of a digital hurricane. So what does this autopsy tell us? Did we just prove that the B-21 Raider is a waste of money? Absolutely not. The forensic reality of May 2026 is that the B-21 is still the most dangerous weapon on the planet. Against 99% of the world's defenses, the Raider is a god. It can fly over any city, any base, and any radar station without being seen. The only reason the F-47 Phoenix can find it is because the U.S. spent $20 billion to build a specialized god hunter. The Pentagon built the Phoenix because they knew that stealth versus stealth is the future of warfare. If an enemy ever builds their own version of the B-21, the U.S. needs a machine that treats invisibility as a solved math problem. The F-47 Phoenix isn't a better plane than the B-21, it's a better system. It proves that in 2026, the war isn't about who has the fastest jet or the biggest bomb. It's about who has the best algorithm. The B-21 is the king of physical invisibility. The F-47 is the king of digital awareness. When they collide, the awareness usually wins because you can't hide from a hunter that can feel the air you're breathing. We've put the Raider and the Phoenix on the slab. We've looked at the Zero-RCS flying wing and the smart skin sensor node. The verdict is clear from May 2026. The era of simple stealth is dead. You can no longer hide just by being a weird shape. If you have mass, if you have heat, and if you move through the air, the F-47 Phoenix can find you. It has turned the sky into a massive digital trap. The B-21 Raider is a masterpiece. It is a ghost that will haunt the nightmares of every other country for the next 50 years. But the F-47 Phoenix is a reminder that no one stays a ghost forever. Eventually, someone builds a better pair of glasses. The $20 billion eraser has done its job. It has found the unfindable. It has deleted the vacuum. And in the silent code forensics of 2026, that is the only thing that matters.
I'm James. This has been the Hidden Muster. We've autopsied the ghost and the hunter. The slab is finally clean. Keep your eyes on the horizon, but remember, if the Phoenix is out there, you won't see it until the autopsy has already begun. Muster out.